Assalamu alaikum. We are here in the 10th lecture of organizational psychology, and today we will touch an important topic, that is pay. Before we go into the reward systems, one of which is pay, I want you to have a look at what we talked about the last time in a quick review. Do you remember what did we talk about the last time? We talked about organizational culture, and in that context, particularly the change of organizational culture. उसके रिव्यू में जल्दी से देख लीजिए हमने क्या देखा था कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल कल्चर को बदलना, तब्दील करना क्यों ज़रूरी है. हमने ये कहा था क्योंकि ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो हैं दे आर फेस्ड विद एक्सटर्नल एज वेल एज इंटरनल चेंजेस. हर वक्त चेंज आ रही है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के एनवायरनमेंट में भी और ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर भी, कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो हैं वो अपने कल्चर को भी चेंज करें. फिर हमने ये देखा था कि जो एक्सटर्नल चेंजेस आ रही हैं वो क्या हैं. हमने उसका 3 चेंजेस का आपसे जिक्र किया था. उस रेफरेंस से याद आया आपको कुछ? नंबर 1 कि बाहर जो चेंजेस हैं उनमें मर्जर्स एंड एक्विजिशंस आर टेकिंग प्लेस, ग्लोबलाइजेशन इज टेकिंग प्लेस. एंड नंबर 3 वी टॉक्ड अबाउट द अराइवल ऑफ वर्चुअल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस. ये तीनों चीजें जो हैं स्पेसिफिकली ये मिलके डिमांड कर रही हैं कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का कल्चर जो है उसको तब्दील किया जाए. फिर हमने ये देखा था कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कल्चर जो है वो किस रेफरेंस में चेंज होना चाहिए. What are the things that need to be changed? And we saw 3 broad areas where change is expected or required. Number 1, in the organizational structure, it must not remain too vertical. It must become more and more horizontal. फिर हमने ये भी देखा था कि organizational politics must change. और फिर हमने ये भी देखा था that organizational emotions and feelings must change. ये justification थी change की, और based upon this justification, we saw, based upon research, what are those steps that are involved in the change, and we talked about 9 of those steps. Can you recall them? Number 1, to assess the organizational culture that needs to be changed. Number 2, set the change goals. Number 3, recruit experienced people. Number 4, recruit experienced people from within the organization as well as from outside. Include employees of the organization in the change that would bring about the change. Number 5, make the changes, introduce the changes. Number 6, expect problems. Problems would arise because people resist. Number 7, move decisively. Do not give in to people's expectations when they do not want to change. If the consensus is the change must take place, then move decisively. Number 8, you must remain persistent. और इसी रेफरेंस में आखिरी बात, that you must not abandon the deep roots of the organizational culture. और हमने इसकी मिसाल दी थी कि वो रूट्स मिसाल के तौर पर जो सदियों पुरानी तारीख में है, सच एज सेलिब्रेटिंग ईद और ऑनरिंग रमज़ानुल मुबारक, जुमातुल मुबारक. ये जो हमारी ट्रेडिशंस हैं ये डीप रूटेड हैं. इनको अबेंडन किए बगैर ही कल्चर को चेंज करना ज़रूरी है. अगर इनको चेंज करने की कोशिश की जाएगी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कल्चर में, ऐसी रूट्स को जो डीप रूटेड है, तो चेंज मुमकिन नहीं रहेगी. ये बातें हमने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कल्चर से मुतल्लिक पिछले लेक्चर में की थी. लेट अस गो फॉरवर्ड टुडे एंड लेट अस टच अपॉन एन एंटायरली न्यू टॉपिक विच इज द रिवॉर्ड सिस्टम. ऑल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैव रिवॉर्ड सिस्टम्स इन देम. All organizations have certain systems which detail punishments. And that is what we are going to talk about today. The first reward system that is available to the organizational psychologist, the decision maker, the board of directors is pay. आप समझते होंगे कि पे जो है ये बड़ी आसान सी चीज़ है, इसमें बहुत से पेच व खम हैं, अभी इनका जिक्र करते हैं. पहले तो ये देखें कि एज स्टूडेंट्स ऑफ साइकोलॉजी, डू यू थिंक दैट द people who give pay, who decide the pay structure for employees and organizations, they are similar in terms of managers and owners? आपका क्या ख्याल है कि मैनेजर जो तय करते हैं या सीईओज जो तय करते हैं पे स्ट्रक्चर, वो और ओनर जो हैं कंपनी के, जो वो तय करते हैं पे स्ट्रक्चर, क्या वो एक से हैं, क्या वो सिमिलर होंगे? क्या ख्याल है आपका? रिसर्च ने, ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल साइकोलॉजी की रिसर्च ने हमें बताया है दैट जनरली स्पीकिंग CEOs or managers or people who are not owners but are decision makers, they tend to pay more to their employees as compared to people who own organizations. Owners pay less, and CEOs or managers, people at the top pay more to the employees. एक बात. दूसरी बात यह है कि जो CEOs या मैनेजर्स हैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में, जब वो पे करते हैं तो वो उनका जो टर्म है, उनका जो पर्सपेक्टिव है, दैट इज ए शॉर्ट टर्म पर्सपेक्टिव. दे feel that they might be able to gain more by taking a short-term perspective, whereas owners of organizations feel that they should take a long-term perspective in paying. तो ये दो चीजें जो हैं, ये आपने खास मद्देनजर रखनी है अगर आपने एक शख्स की साइकोलॉजी को ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में समझना है. क्या कि पे जो है वो मैनेजर ज्यादा करते हैं, ओनर्स कम करते हैं. मैनेजर्स या सीईओज का पर्सपेक्टिव शॉर्ट टर्म है और ओनर्स का पर्सपेक्टिव जो है वो लॉन्ग टर्म होता है. चलिए, ये देखने के बाद हम आगे चलते हैं और देखते हैं कि पे का एक शख्स की नफ्सियात पर क्या असर है ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में. आपका क्या ख्याल है कि अगर आप एक शख्स को ज्यादा तनख्वाह देंगे तो वो ज्यादा मोटिवेटेड होगा काम करने में या कम मोटिवेटेड हो जाएगा? और आपका क्या ख्याल है कि क्या तनख्वाह के साथ साथ उसकी मोटिवेशन भी बढ़ती चली जाएगी? मिसाल के तौर पर, अगर आज उसकी तनख्वाह 100 रुपये है और एक साल के बाद 200 है और उसके एक साल के बाद 300 है, तो क्या उसकी मोटिवेशन भी ऐसे ही प्रोपोर्शनेटली इंक्रीज होगी? क्या ख्याल है आपका? क्या ख्याल है? ज्यादा इंक्रीज इन पे, इफ यू गिव मोर इंक्रीज इन पे टू एम्प्लॉइज, आर मोर मोटिवेटेड? क्या ख्याल है आपका? इफ यू abandon, if you cut down the pay of people, would they be demotivated? How much pay would be motivating? How much increase would be motivating? How much increase may not be motivating? How much increase in pay may be a demotivating factor? ये सारी बातें जो हैं, ये हमने रिसर्च से देखी हैं. एक एक करके इनका जिक्र करते हैं. पहली बात तो इस रेफरेंस में जो है वो आपने बिल्कुल ठीक गेस किया होगा. इंक्रीज इन पे increases motivation of people to work for the organization. लेकिन ये इतना सीधा भी नहीं है मसला. Generally this is true. Increase in pay generally increases people's motivation in organizations to work for the organization. This is what research shows. But if the increase is less than 7% of the basic pay of an individual in an organization, then the increase in pay is not a motivating factor. इस बात को फिर एक्सप्लेन करता हूं मिसाल के जरिए से. मिसाल के तौर पर एक शख्स की तनख्वाह 100 रुपए माहवार है, उसको आपने इंक्रीज दी 10 रुपए की. क्या आपके ख्याल में वो पहले से बेहतर काम करेगा? रिसर्च फाइंडिंग्स शो दैट दिस इज करेक्ट. His work and his motivation to work would improve. Let us take the same example. A person gets 100 rupees in an organization and you give him an increase of 5%. You increase his pay from 100 rupees to 105 rupees. Will his motivation increase? What do you think? Generally speaking, you would agree that it should, but it does not. Research shows that if the increase in pay is less than 7% of the basic pay, a person's motivation does not increase. In fact, it is a demotivator. ये बड़ी अहम बात है, पहली बात. दूसरी बात जो है, उसमें हमने इसको थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ाते हैं. फर्ज कीजिए कि एक शख्स की तनख्वाह 100 रुपए है और आपने उसको 50 रुपए की इंक्रीमेंट दी. उसकी इंक्रीज जो है दैट इज 50%. What do you think? Will his motivation increase in the organization to work for the organization, or will his motivation not increase, or will his motivation to work for the organization decrease? क्या ख्याल है? बताइए सोच के. Research shows that his motivation to work for the organization will decrease if the increase in the pay is substantial, is a big increase in the pay. Then the employee is not motivated to work for the organization. He focuses on getting more pay and he focuses less on his organizational function. So by introducing a substantial increase in the pay of a person, you do not necessarily increase his motivation. The more the money given, the more employees seek money rather than the betterment of the organization. ये relationship याद रखिए. Pay is a motivator. Increase in pay is a motivator. But increase in pay less than 7% is not a motivator. That an increase in substantial pay is not a motivator, because then the person is not working for the organization's benefit, he is working more for the money. इसका उलट भी देखते हैं. What do you think? A reduction in pay will do what to an organization? Will he be demotivated? Common sense says that he will be demotivated. That is also what research found out, that a reduction in pay leads to a lowering of morale of the person in the organization. He is demotivated. He is not as enthusiastic, as keen to work in an organization as he was before the introduction of a reduction in his pay. एक और बात जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और पे में हमने देखी है, that is the money or pay may mean different things to people in the organization depending upon their age, their gender, their family, etc. Let's dwell on that a little bit more. आपका क्या ख्याल है, अगर मुझे जिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में मैं काम करता हूं, अगर वो मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा पैसे देने शुरू करें, तो क्या मेरी मोटिवेशन बढ़ जाएगी? और अगर मेरी जगह कोई 25 बरस का शख्स एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में काम कर रहा हो और उसको सब्सटेंशियल इंक्रीज दी जाए, तो क्या उसकी मोटिवेशन बढ़ जाएगी? फर्क है ना दोनों में. इसलिए बिकॉज आई एम एट ए डिफरेंट लाइफ साइकिल as compared to a 25-year-old person. A 25-year-old person is at a different life cycle than a 40-year-old person. Because the 25-year-old person has to get married, has to have children, has to have a home, has to have a family, has to educate his children. He needs money. So his motivation for money is different as compared to my motivation or somebody else's motivation who's, let us say, plus 40. Because these two people are at different life cycles. Life cycle is then related to the pay as a motivator or a demotivator. Depending upon your life cycle or the life cycle of a person, pay may be a motivator, but depending upon the life cycle of another person, pay may not be a motivator. A recognition in the organization may be a motivator, or some other benefits in the organization may be more motivating for him. For instance, the benefit of performing Hajj. For instance, the benefit of going on a vacation. For instance, the benefit of education for his family and his children. For instance, the benefit of free medical aid. Somebody, for instance, who is at a life cycle of, let us say, plus 40 years, he is more interested in vacations, paid vacation, paid performance of Hajj, for instance, coverage of medical expenses for himself and his family, than only pay. Whereas somebody who is 25 years old is more interested in pay and less interested in other benefits such as performing of Hajj. Of course, he wants to perform Hajj, but he has a whole life in front of him. He is less interested in vacation. He is not at all interested in the education of his children because he doesn't have any children. He is not even married. He is not interested that much in medical expense because, mashallah, he is young and jawan, so his medical bills are not going to run high. So he is less interested in those benefits and more interested in pays, whereas a person who is, let us say, plus 40 is less interested in pay and more interested in benefits. So depending upon the life cycle of a person, pay would be a motivator, a non-motivator, or a demotivator. For somebody who is nearing the end of his career, a pay is not a motivator. Benefits are motivator. Somebody who is at the beginning of his career, pay is a motivator. Benefits are not motivators as much as pay is. So, when you are looking at pay as a reward, keep in mind that pay is related to the life cycle of the person in an organization, the life cycle of an employee or a person in the organization. एक और चीज जो हमने पे से मुतल्लिक देखी है ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में, वो ये है that if the gap between the lowest pay and the highest pay given to a person in a team is too much, then that results in lowering of morale and lowering of motivation. देखिए, इस बात को थोड़ा सा डिटेल से बयान करते हैं. In any given organization, whether it is a product organization or a service organization, it is the teamwork that helps to achieve organizational goal. कोई भी एक शख्स किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अकेला कोई गोल अचीव नहीं कर सकता. So it is teamwork. Now, when you look at organizations as teams or people getting their work done as teams, then you have to keep in view that the team members are paid in such a way that the gap between pay of one team member and the pay of another team member is not too wide. ये ना हो कि एक शख्स को आप 5,000 रुपए तनख्वाह रिकमेंड कर रहे हैं और दूसरे शख्स को जो उसी टीम का मेंबर है, जो उसी डिपार्टमेंट का मेंबर है, जिसके में भी थोड़ा सा एक्सपीरियंस ज्यादा है बट इज ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ द सेम टीम, उसको आप 50,000 रुपए दे रहे हैं. If that gap is too much, if the spread in pay in the team is too much, then that spread leads to lowering of morale and people are demotivated to work for the organization. एक और चीज जो हमने पे से मुतल्लिक देखी है, जिसका मैं यहां आपसे जिक्र करना चाहूंगा, that relates to rewarding people, paying people against paying teams. If the pay structures are made up in such a way in organizations that teams are paid, teams are rewarded rather than individuals, then people in the teams, people in organizations are more motivated. मैं आपको इसकी मिसाल, इसको एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट टीम की मिसाल देना पसंद करूंगा. आज से कुछ अरसा पहले, 10, 12, 15 बरस पहले, if a person in the cricket team in Pakistan won the best bowlers or best all-rounders award, that award was taken by him. If the man of the match award was given, the man of the match award was shared only by the man of the match, and it was not shared by other team members. The result of it was that team morale sagged, because a bowler can never be a successful bowler if the other team members drop his catches. A batsman cannot be a successful batsman unless other team members support him by giving him a constant partnership on the other end. So, what did the team members in Pakistan cricket do? To avoid this lowering of morale, it was decided by the cricket team that if the Pakistani player wins the man of the match award, the trophy can be held by the person, but the money involved in it would be distributed amongst the team members. And that helped to restore and increase the motivation of the cricket team, and as a result, they started performing better than before. Now everybody is trying to help everybody else rather than trying to score more, trying to make more runs by himself, or trying to take more wickets by himself. That's just not possible. इसलिए पाकिस्तान की क्रिकेट टीम ने यह तय किया था आज से चंद बरस पहले कि जब भी मैन ऑफ द मैच अवार्ड मिला करेगा पाकिस्तान टीम के एक खिलाड़ी को, तो वो तमाम खिलाड़ियों में डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया जाएगा. एंड दैट इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ रिवॉर्डिंग द टीम rather than rewarding the individual. If you adopt or if you recommend as student of organizational psychology that whenever a reward in terms of pay is to be given in the organization, that pay should be given to the team, the pay rise should be given to the team, the reward should be given to the team rather to an individual. आखिरी चीज जो इस रेफरेंस में हमने देखी है रिसर्च से मुतल्लिक, that is that pay is a motivator if it is linked to critical behaviors in an organization. Critical behavior in an organization may be, for instance, the ability to cooperate with others. A critical behavior may be to come on time so that the operation theatre in the hospital can be opened. The critical behavior may be that those phone calls are made to the specialists so that they can arrive on time to when the patient is ready for the operation, and they don't come early, so they have to wait for an hour or two for the operation to be, a theater to be prepared and the patient to be prepared. That saves the surgeon a lot of time, and making that phone call when everything is ready to the chief surgeon is a critical behavior. And if pay is related to such behaviors, which are critical behaviors, then it is shown by research that people get motivated by pay. ये 6-7 चीज़ें जो हैं, और भी बहुत सी चीज़ें हैं पे से मुतल्लिक, लेकिन फ़िलहाल आपके लिए अंडर ग्रेजुएट लेवल पे ये 6-7 चीज़ें ही काफ़ी हैं. All right, after having seen what is the relationship of pay with various types of motivations and demotivations in a person, let us take a view of what the methods of pay are. हमने अब तक जो मेथड्स ऑफ पे देखे हैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में माहिरीन नफ्सियात ने, उनको हम 3 कैटेगरीज में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं. वो 3 कैटेगरीज कौन कौन सी हैं? बेस पे, मेरिट पे एंड पे फॉर परफॉर्मेंस. बेस पे, मेरिट पे एंड पे फॉर परफॉर्मेंस. ये 3 मेथड्स हैं पे के जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में माहिरीन नफ्सियात को अवेलेबल हैं to get people to be motivated for the benefit of an organization. अब इन तीनों को एक एक करके हम इनकी स्टडी कर लेते हैं. चलिए, सबसे पहले बेस पे टेक्निकल टर्म्स में या साइकोलॉजिकल टर्म्स में या इन टर्म्स ऑफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल साइकोलॉजी, वो पे है जो एक शख्स को ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वीकली बेसिस पे या मंथली बेसिस पे या बाई वीकली बेसिस पे या डेली बेसिस पे करती है. हमारे यहाँ आमतौर पर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में मंथली बेसिस पे किया जाता है, एंड दैट इज एन एग्जांपल ऑफ द बेस पे. हमारे यहाँ कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में डेली बेसिस पे भी पे किया जाता है, लेकिन हमारे यहाँ ज़्यादातर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में मंथली बेसिस पे किया जाता है. कुछ ममालिक ऐसे हैं और कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ऐसी हैं जिनमें मंथली बेसिस के अलावा की बजाय वीकली बेसिस पे भी पे किया जाता है. अमेरिका में वीकली बेसिस पे भी कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में पे किया जाता है. यू गेट योर पे ऑन अ वीकली बेसिस. देयर आर सम कंट्रीज दैट वुड लाइक दैट पे ऑन ए बाई वीकली पे बेसिस, 2 हफ्ते के बाद और फिर 2 हफ्ते के बाद. It depends upon various practices, but whatever the time gap is, base pay, you must remember, refers to a pay that is given on a daily, weekly or monthly basis. और ये जो है, ये determine होता है market conditions से. बेस पे कैसे दी जाएगी? डेली बेसिस पे, वीकली बेसिस पे या मंथली बेसिस पे, और कितनी दी जाएगी ये किस चीज से डिटरमिन हो रहा है? मार्केट कंडीशन से. अगर मार्केट में कंडीशंस ऐसी हैं कि ए मेजॉरिटी ऑफ अदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस पे ऑन अ डेली बेसिस, देन an organization has to pay its employee on a daily basis also. If the market conditions are such that pay is given on a weekly basis in the market by a majority of other organizations, then a given organization has also to pay on a weekly basis within its own sphere. And if the market conditions are such that other organizations that are competing with a given organization pay people on the basis of monthly remuneration, then a given organization has also to follow the same pattern. एक तो ये है कि मोड ऑफ पेमेंट जो है वो मार्केट कंडीशन से तय हो रहा है. इसके साथ साथ अमाउंट, वॉल्यूम ऑफ पे जो है, क्वांटिटी ऑफ पे जो है, वो भी मार्केट कंडीशन से ही डिटरमिन होगी. मार्केट कंडीशंस का मतलब है कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ए के अलावा बी, सी, डी, ई, एफ, जी, एच जितनी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं ऑफ सिमिलर नेचर इन द मार्केट, if they are paying, let us say, X amount of money on a daily, weekly or monthly basis, then a given organization also has to pay on a daily basis X amount of money. If the other organizations are paying Y amount of money on a weekly basis, then this organization has also to pay Y amount of money on a weekly basis. And if the other organizations are paying P amount of money on a monthly basis, then this given organization has also to pay P amount of money on a monthly basis. इसलिए base pay जो है, that is determined by market conditions in terms of the mode of payment and in terms of the amount of payment. ये तो हुआ base pay जो method of pay का पहला तरीका है. दूसरा है जिसे माहिरीन नफ्सियात, ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल साइकोलॉजी के माहिरीन जो हैं, मेरिट पे कहते हैं. मेरिट पे इज रिलेटेड टू सर्टेन मेरिट्स ऑफ द पीपल इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन and the cost of living in relation to the merit. There are people in the organization who are more merited than the others, who bring about higher laurels to the organization. मिसाल के तौर पर एक शख्स जो है उसने अपनी फील्ड में कोई बड़ा इनाम हासिल कर रखा है. हमारे यहाँ भी बहुत से लिटरेरी प्राइजेस हैं. अगर कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन उस शख्स को एम्प्लॉय कर रही है तो फिर उसकी पे जो है वो किसी ऐसे शख्स से ज्यादा होनी चाहिए जिसके पास वो लिटरेरी अवार्ड या वो नेशनल अवार्ड नहीं है. बिकॉज ही ब्रिंग्स टू द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ए स्पेशल मेरिट. And that is an example of merit pay. He is not only being paid in comparison to market conditions. Of course, he is paid in comparison to market conditions, but over and above, he is also paid for the name that he brings to the organization, for the honor that he brings to the organization, for the extra merit that he brings to the organization. And that is an example of a merit pay. तीसरा जो पे का तरीका है उसको हम कहते हैं pay for performance. There are two methodologies for pay for performance. What? The one that we call an individual incentive plan and the other that we call the group incentive plan. Pay for performance is that if a person performs better than another person, he should be paid more than the other person. If a person is not performing as well as the other person, then he should be paid less as compared to another person who is performing better. And this is called pay for performance. अब इसकी दो ऑप्शंस हैं, एक इंडिविजुअल इंसेंटिव प्लान और एक ग्रुप इंसेंटिव प्लान. पे फॉर परफॉर्मेंस in terms of individual incentive plan is related to the work done by an individual and his pay determined on the basis of that work done by that individual. The more the work that the individual does, the more pay he gets. He may not only get a pay, he also may get a bonus. He may not only get a bonus and pay, he also may get stock options. अब ये भी इसका एक्सप्लेन कर दें आपको कि पे के अलावा और क्या चीजें हैं जिसका हम तफसील से आगे जिक्र करेंगे, लेकिन क्योंकि मैंने यहां पर इनका जिक्र किया है इसलिए आपको वो भी बताता जाऊं. बोनस इज in addition to the pay that a person receives in terms of cash or in terms of other materials. For instance, a person works overtime in a company, so he is paid more money depending upon the amount of time that he puts in. Supposing the individual works in an ice cream company and he works overtime, he not only gets a pay, but he also gets a certain amount of money as bonus. If an individual is at a higher level in an organization where there are 5 or 10 or 20 people working under him, then he not only gets pay and bonus, he also gets stock options. Stock options refer to part ownership of the company. If the company is into the stock market and its shares are available in the stock market, the company offers a hard-working individual a part of those shares so that the individual becomes part owner of the company. And that is an example of an individual incentive plan in terms of pay for performance. इसी में दूसरी ऑप्शन भी अवेलेबल है माहिरीन नफ्सियात को, ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल साइकोलॉजिस्ट्स को, कॉल्ड द ग्रुप इंसेंटिव प्लान. बाज औकात ये मुश्किल होता है किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कि हम ये देख लें कि इंडिविजुअल का काम क्या है, क्योंकि उसके काम की नौइयत ऐसी है कि वो काम जब तक एक ग्रुप की हैसियत से ना किया जाए मुकम्मल हो ही नहीं सकता. उस सूरत में इंडिविजुअल इंसेंटिव प्लान जो है उसको ऑपरेट करना मुश्किल हो जाता है. मिसाल के तौर पर एक कंपनी है जो कमीजें बनाती है. कमीजें बनाने वाली कंपनी में यह मुश्किल हो जाएगा कि एक शख्स का इंडिविजुअल कंट्रीब्यूशन डिटरमिन किया जाए, क्योंकि कमीज के बनाने में बहुत से लोग शामिल हैं. स्टिचर्स हैं, कटर्स हैं, पैकर्स हैं, बटन लगाने वाले हैं, काज बनाने वाले हैं, और ये तमाम मिलके एक कमीज को बनाते हैं. इसलिए किसी ऐसे शख्स के लिए जो उन लोगों की पे को डिटरमिन करना चाहता है, उसके लिए ये मुश्किल है कि वो कैसे इंडिविजुअल के पे को डिटरमिन करे. उस सूरत में what is adopted is called a group incentive plan, where the group is rewarded for pay when the performance of the group as a whole is good, is higher than the average. और इस ग्रुप इंसेंटिव प्लान में दो ऑप्शंस हमारे पास होती हैं जिनको यूज करके माहिरीन नफ्सियात पे इंक्रीज कर सकते हैं सारे ग्रुप की, और पे इंक्रीज करके सारे ग्रुप को मोटिवेट कर सकते हैं, और पे इंक्रीज करके ग्रुप की मोरल को बेहतर कर सकते हैं, और पे इंक्रीज करके ग्रुप की प्रोडक्टिविटी को बढ़ा सकते हैं, और पे इंक्रीज करके ग्रुप की कोहेजन को बढ़ा सकते हैं, और पे की इंक्रीज की वजह से ग्रुप सेटिस्फैक्शन को बढ़ा सकते हैं, और ग्रुप सेटिस्फैक्शन की वजह से प्रोडक्टिविटी को बढ़ा सकते हैं. ये सारी चीजें रिसर्च हमें बताती है कि आपस में कनेक्टेड हैं. इसीलिए मॉडर्न साइकोलॉजिस्ट्स इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन यूज पे ग्रुप इंसेंटिव प्लान्स मोर देन इंडिविजुअल इंसेंटिव प्लान्स. चलिए ग्रुप इंसेंटिव प्लान्स का भी एक जिक्र देख लेते हैं. ग्रुप इंसेंटिव प्लान्स आर ऑफ टू टाइप्स, गेन शेयरिंग प्लान and profit sharing plan. Remember, we are talking about pay for performance. Remember, we are talking about three types of pays, and in that the third type of pay is the pay for performance. And in that context, we've talked about individual incentive plan, then we talked about group incentive plan, and now we are talking about two options of group incentive plan. What are those two options? Number one, gain sharing, and number two, profit sharing. बाज़ औकात ग्रुप जो है उसमें मुश्किल हो जाता है कि उसकी वजह से जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को प्रॉफिट हुआ है उसका तयन किया जा सके. उस सूरत में माहिरीन नफ्सियात रिकमेंड करते हैं कि जो भी ग्रुप की कंट्रीब्यूशन है उसकी वजह से जो गेन हुआ है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, वो गेन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ग्रुप के साथ शेयर कर ले. मिसाल के तौर पर अगर एक टेक्सटाइल मिल है और उसमें एक ग्रुप ने ऐसा तरीका इख्तियार किया है कि उनकी एवरेज प्रोडक्टिविटी जो है वो 5 गज से बढ़कर मिसाल के तौर पर 8 गज हो गई है और उसमें 3 गज की इंक्रीज हुई है, तो माहिरीन नफ्सियात रिकमेंड करते हैं कि वो 3 गज की जो इंक्रीज है इन प्रोडक्टिविटी ऑफ दैट टेक्सटाइल मिल, that is given to the people in the group. There is no money given in the group as group incentive plan. The gain has been given to the group, and the group may use that gain in whatever way the group fits to use it. और दूसरा तरीका जो है ग्रुप इंसेंटिव प्लान का, उसको हम कहते हैं प्रॉफिट शेयरिंग. कंपनी ये भी कर सकती है, उसी मिसाल को आगे बढ़ाते हुए देखें कि 5 से 8 गज जो कपड़ा पहले से की निस्बत पहले से बढ़ गया है, ये 3 गज कपड़े में जो इंक्रीज हुई है प्रोडक्टिविटी में, कंपनी उसको मार्केट में जाके फरोख्त करे और उस 3 गज कपड़े की जो कीमत है, जो प्रॉफिट है, वो ग्रुप के मेंबर्स को दे दिया जाए. In the first instance, the group has gained by gaining some cloth. In the second instance, the group is now gaining the money that the company earns by selling that cloth in the market. These are the techniques that are used in pay for performance. Pay for performance is related to the groups and the individuals. और हमने आपको इंडिविजुअल प्लान बताए और हमने आपको ग्रुप प्लान बताए. ये 3 जो तरीके अभी तक हमने देखे, बेस पे, मेरिट पे और पे फॉर परफॉर्मेंस, ये 3 तरीके ट्रेडिशनल तरीके कहलाते हैं. माहिरीन नफ्सियात ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल साइकोलॉजी में इन 3 तरीकों को ट्रेडिशनल तरीके कहती है. इसके अलावा माहिरीन नफ्सियात के पास 7 तरीके ऐसे हैं जिनको हम न्यू मेथड्स और न्यू पे टेक्निक्स कहते हैं. लेट अस टेक ए लुक एट दोज न्यू मेथड्स और न्यू पे टेक्निक्स. फर्स्ट ऑफ दोज 7 is what is called commissions beyond. Commissions beyond means that commission is given to an employee on the amount of sale that he does. But commission is also given to the employee if his customers feel satisfied in dealing with him. There is one person who sells 100 pairs of shoes, for instance. There's another person who sells 100 pairs of shoes. The company gives bonus or commissions on any shoes sold after 50 pairs. So he gets a certain amount because he sold 100 shoes, and he gets the same amount because he sold 100 shoes. But commissions beyond means a new technique that if his customers are more satisfied, if his customers say that he was a cheerful salesperson, then he gets more pay than this person. The satisfaction of customer is used as a method of giving more commissions, and this is called commissions beyond. That's one of the new techniques of paying. Another new technique of paying is what is called rewarding leadership roles. There are some individuals who have people's skill. Psychologists have seen in organization. People's skills means they deal better with people. People who are customers in an organization prefer to deal with certain people in the organization and do not prefer to deal with certain other people in the organization. Why? Because some people have better skills, better social skills. Organizations may pay more to those people whose social skills or people skills are better. That's another technique called rewarding leadership roles. Another is rewarding quality. There are two salespeople in, let us say, a big bakery. One salesperson every time deals with the customer. After the customer leaves, he cleans his shelf. And the other salesperson does not clean his shelf until 5 customers have been changed. Who would you pay more? You would pay more to that salesperson or that employee who cleans the shelf every time he deals with a customer, because he is adopting quality measures. And that is what is meant by rewarding new goals. If a person is quality conscious, if a person improves his quality of dealing with other people in the organization, then his pay is more. Another method of increasing pay or new technique of paying is what we call pay for knowledge. Suppose there is an organization where some foreigners also visit, and that person knows how to deal with those foreigners. He knows how to deal with foreign ladies. He has a professional skill of, for instance, using computers. That person who has a better knowledge of dealing with foreign customers or using computers is paid more, and that is called pay for knowledge. Another technique, fifth technique of new technique of paying is what's called skill pay. Somebody who knows, for instance, more foreign languages. If there is a shop or there is an organization where lots of foreigners visit and he knows more than one foreign languages, for instance, he knows French and he knows English and he knows German, you would pay that person more because he has special skills. And this is called a skill pay, another new technique. The sixth new technique is what is called competency pay, rewarding certain special competencies. For instance, if an accident happens in a workplace, the person is a trained paramedic. He is not only a salesperson, he is also a paramedic. He can revive a fainted person. So he gets more pay. And last but not the least in the new pay technologies is what is called broad bending. When all pay scales are pooled together and a single pay structure is developed. Let us say in Pakistan, in the government service, that pay structure is from grade 1 to, let us say, grade 22. That is called broad bending. Broad bending is collapsing all pays into a single and then giving pays according to that broad band. These are some of the new techniques of giving pay to individuals in organizations. Pay is one of the incentives, reward systems that we use in organizations. We will talk about other reward systems, but for the time being, let us recap what we have talked about today. We have talked about the reward system that organizations have, that organizational psychologists can use to motivate people. In that context, we talked about pay as one of the reward systems. Research shows a number of variables related to pay, that a certain amount of increase motivates individuals, a less than that amount of increase demotivates individuals, that if the increase in pay is far beyond that, then that also is demotivating for the individual to work for the organization. Then he begins to work to get more and more pay. that pay is related, research shows, to the life cycles of the people in the organization. Some people are motivated by pay, some people are less motivated by our pay, and some people are not motivated by pay. They may be motivated by other benefits. Then we talked about methods of pay. We talked about generally 3 methods of pay: base pay, paid on a daily, weekly or a monthly basis. Then we talked about merit pay, a special recognition that the person may bring to an organization. And then we talked about pay for performance. In pay for performance, we talked about the individual incentive plans and the group incentive plan. Individual incentive plan is when the individual is rewarded or paid, the more he works, the more he gets paid. And the group incentive plans are when gains or profits are shared by the whole group. These are some of the old techniques. Then we talked about 7 new techniques of pay. And those were, number 1, commissions beyond. Number 2, rewarding the leadership roles. Number 3, rewarding new roles, new options by individuals practiced in the organization. Number 4, pay for knowledge. Number 5, skill pays, special skills are paid high. Number 6, competencies are paid, certain competencies are paid. And then number 7, broad bending, collapsing all pay structures into a single plan, and then and giving those single plans to the individuals depending upon their competencies, depending upon their skills, depending upon their experience, depending upon their education. These are some of the new techniques that we talked about of pay. Pay is one of the reward systems in organizational psychology. We will talk about other reward systems the next time. Do look up the lecture today. Until the next time, Khuda Hafiz, God be with you.